live on Facebook. Hey, Paige,
Peter,
how's it going?
good, good.
Good, good, good. Well, it's good to see you again here in the Polarity Lab. And, we've got a new kind of topic, a new stance. We were going to talk about scorekeeping in relationships, how this is such a common practice and also just a common way that polarity gets kind of squashed in a relationship, and something I think we've all experienced. And it definitely plays into the nice guy dynamics. And I'm sure, we'll both have a lot to say about it. So
Yeah, I'm excited for this topic.
yeah, tell me about your experience with scorekeeping. Is this something that you feel like you've caught
I've
this?
done it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. I think when the feminine does it, it's from a place of resentment. Like take chores in the house, for example, like I'm doing all the laundry, I'm doing all the dishes, I'm taking out the trash. Like, what are you doing? And I think it comes from a place of like resentment when it's habitual. Like it maybe one time it's okay, but when it becomes habitual, I think it turns into resentment, and that is the worst place to be as a
Yeah.
woman.
And it's happened at times for you in the past because it felt unfair or imbalanced as far
Well, I
as
see it in myself and other women. Like again, when you're working full time and caring for kids, like when you have a lot of demands on you and marriage, I've seen this as a pattern where women feel like they're doing like all the housework and the men are not doing the housework. And then it's like, yeah, and it becomes a scorekeeping,
Mhm. Yeah.
And when I was married, I did that. I was like, I felt like I was doing the predominant domestic labor and I was resentful.
Yeah. Was this something that you then felt like you would bring up? You would point
Yeah,
this out?
I did.
Would you just
I feel like a lot of women, they're like, I bring it up, but it doesn't go anywhere. And
right?
then it's like, and then that's where it turns to like more habitual because it's like, well, what do I do to get them to do what I need them to do? And then you start criticizing and judging, and then you pull back physically because you don't want intimacy anymore.
Yeah.
And so it was one of the major downfalls in my marriage is I got into this like scorekeeping role and then a place of deep resentment. And then, like you said, with the polarity, there was absolutely no desire for intimacy.
hmm it seems like to me when we get in this place where we're, keeping score silently, either bringing it up or not bringing it up, it almost automatically positions us in opposition
Yes.
to our partner
Mhm.
because now, I'm saying, "Hey, I'm doing more, I'm giving more, and you're not meeting me there." And why is this? What do like,
Well, and I think too, when women can't figure out why, then there's like unconscious manipulation tactics. Like, and what I mean by that is they may not intentionally withdraw intimacy, but then it becomes a tool.
hmm
And men crave physical intimacy. So it's like, well, I'm not getting what I want. So in the beginning, you may not be manipulative in it, but then it becomes like clear that, like I think with women, it's like they pull back because it's a natural, like somatic response.
hmm
But then it's like, oh, clearly, like there's this disconnect. And like I think it does become like a manipulation tactic to be like, well, I'm not getting what I want, so I don't want to share myself with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think men can do that too. And I think, and I know I'm guilty. I'm saying this because
Yeah, okay, I didn't know. I mean, I'm not on the other side, so I can't speak to that. I just know that I've been there where then it's like, even if I knew well, when I was married, like I just was unwilling. The polarity was completely lost, but I didn't stop the scorekeeping.
right, right. Yeah, because again, it's like we can feel victimized somewhat in the exchange or, again, lack of mutuality in it of like, oh, I'm giving more. And I know I've done this as the nice guy, and that's, Robert Glover in the No More Mr. Nice Guy book. He often will refer to these as like covert contracts. And it's where like,
That's exactly. It's like you have this like that's what I realized in myself is that as a codependent, I was making a covert contract that I didn't realize I was making.
yeah. And that is, I think it is a common codependent strategy of like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to try to support, bring what I can to the dynamic with an expectation that's not spoken, that it's going to be received well, and then I'm going to be given to, reciprocally
Yeah.
because of what I'm doing, but nobody's going to talk about it. It just needs to happen. And then it's the same kind of thing. It's like, hey, I've been going out of my way. I've been, maybe not even going out of my way, maybe just doing the things I was committed to doing for the relationship. But in the back of my mind, again, it's like, oh, she's going to see this. She's going to appreciate me. She's going to show me appreciation. And maybe that appreciation is going to be physical. And I think for guys, that's so common to want it to play out that way.
And I think that's the manipulation tactic on the feminine too, is like, um, at times I think that women know, what a man needs and will withhold it
Mm.
because it's still like, I need to get this from, like, I need to extract what I want from you in order for you to get that from me.
Yeah. I think,
I withheld in my marriage appreciation as a tactic. I mean, it was subconscious, but it's sometimes conscious,
right.
and I have a failed marriage because of it. So, I mean, I know it depolarizes intimacy.
Yeah. I
And it took
think
a lot of self work for me to own that behavior and realize what I was doing was damaging unconsciously. But I think there were times where it was conscious.
for sure, for sure. I know I've had those moments, those, and like what it might play out is kind of like a passive aggressive behavior. Like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm gonna withhold, maybe not the chores, not like, oh, I'm not gonna do the chores or things that I think are helpful to my partner, but I'm gonna withhold my emotional presence. I'm going to, not pay as much attention to my own nervous system, and I'm gonna stew feeling a little resentful or angry or hurt. And I'm going to let that come out in some ways that my partner is going to experience it. But again, it's not like a direct attack. It's more of like, hey, I'm pulling back. I'm not going to be close with you. I'm going to, withhold maybe some affection or again the presence and support in the way that I know my partner likes because it feels like I'm justified in being able to do
Well,
that.
that's what we do, right? We feel justified, like rightfully so, like you didn't did it, and I've asked and I've asked and I've asked. So then you feel justified. Like if you've made your complaint and it's still not being received, then you feel justified in your resentment.
Yeah. I think this is such a typical dynamic. And I guess in my mind, I'm trying to imagine if there's ever scenarios where it's just one person doing the scorekeeping. Like it feels like to me, it's probably happening between two people the
I think
majority
so
of the
because
time.
it's like their needs might be different. So, like going back to like wanting to maybe have somebody participate in the chores with you, but they might need, like you just mentioned, appreciation. So, I think what happened in my marriage was I would withhold the appreciation because I'd be like, what do I appreciate you for? Like,
Hmm.
what are you doing for me? Like, I don't have any appreciation for you. But he was in, I would say he was in desperate need of appreciation and I couldn't give it because I was
Hmm.
so resentful.
Yeah.
And I knew it hurt him, but I was not willing to give that to him because I was so right. I felt so righteous in how I felt about what I wasn't receiving.
Yeah. It's the hurt people,
Yeah.
right? Dynamic. And yeah, we're feeling wounded and it's like I don't want to give in. I don't want to let down my guard and I'm resisting that because I'm hurt and you're hurt. And then again, it just becomes this kind of cycle of back and forth, constantly arguing, constantly keeping score. And again, a lot of this scorekeeping is not out loud. It's not
Oh,
conscious,
totally. It's
you
like
know.
not, it's not like, well, it could be too, but like it's usually not. And but it builds up over time. And then I think what happens in marriages or long-term relationships is that it goes on long enough that the polarity is just destroyed. So there's no desire for
Right,
intimacy anymore.
right.
The intimacy is just shot. And then it's like, well, then how do you rebuild it when it's been going on for sometimes months or years?
It's such a, and the intimacy piece is such a kind of tricky subject matter or place where this plays out because I do think men and women experience this need and desire for intimacy in such different ways, and I think that the way it is used as a kind of manipulation tool in relationships, I think that's pretty typical. And I also think, it doesn't benefit men to keep score and track that. Yet I'm pretty certain that if I asked any number of my guy friends, that about 80% of them could tell me exactly when the last time they were intimate with their partner
Oh,
was.
totally, right? And the
You know?
woman may not be able to do so much,
Right,
but
right.
maybe.
And again, I
Oh,
don't
men,
even,
I definitely know when they last. Like, yeah.
yeah. And
Women
again, I
have to
don't
think,
even,
and you know what's funny for the woman? They have to think, when was my period?
right.
Like a woman's like, okay, when was my cycle? Like that's how I was like, okay, so I'm on like week da da da, because our intimacy right is like very much aligned to our cycle. So I think for a lot of women, it's like, when did I have my last cycle? And then we'll like think about it.
Yeah, and then again, guys, I don't, it's not that they're intentionally trying to keep score, but in the back of their mind, it's like, oh wow, that's the last time my partner and I had sex. That's the last time, again, that and for guys, unfortunately, I think for a lot of them, that's when they feel the most appreciated. That's when they
Yes,
feel,
yeah, that's what they say, right?
yeah, the
Like in
most
terms of the research.
accepted, the most accepted by their partner. And it's that's such a powerful act and a powerful place to be, and it's almost, yeah, I mean, it almost gets taken for granted in a way
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's how it's able in some ways to be used as a manipulation tactic, like that it's this powerful act of connection and acceptance. And it requires the feminine to feel safe and to want to open and for the masculine to be present and grounded for it to happen in a good way. And so I don't, neither you or I are saying, hey, people should force this, you
No, no.
know.
But like I was telling, actually, it's funny, this is the topic for today because I was just talking to one of my friends and I was saying when and this actually came up on a polarity lab before, when I'm hurt or angry in partnership, if the male wants to touch me, I won't want to be touched. Like when there's conflict or a disconnect or a lack of polarity, the last thing I want is to be touched. And for the male, it's like I can tell it's like they're grasping for this touch, like as a need for connection. And
Mhm.
what's depolarizing is I'll be like, I don't, and I'm gonna explain this, I'm gonna break it down. I don't want to be anywhere near touch because remember, for the feminine, it's about safety.
Mhm.
So as soon as I feel safe energetically with my partner, meaning I feel heard, understood, seen, I feel presence, those four things like heard, seen, understood, or presence, or even the attempt to try to understand me, then I can let down my guard and be like, okay, you can put your hand on my knee. But until I get that like need met, meaning like that's what I need for safety.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like for the women, right? Like safety, like for men, they want to feel that physical connection. For a woman to give that, she ultimately has to feel safe.
Right.
Um, but you can't get back to polarity without either of those two things. Like if you just don't allow any physical touch, then there's no polarity there.
Yeah.
And if you don't bring in the elements of safety and presence and these things that we talk about that are masculine energy, then the woman can't bring her feminine back online because it's depolarizing. Like
Right.
if I don't feel safe, I can't touch you, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. I think too, I think this is something that I would talk to the men about, and I talk about kind of in the way that I'm, on like the training for the bedroom stuff and the things that I'm putting out there. It's important for men to work in relationships to develop a understanding and a practice where touch and intimacy does not always have to lead or result in sex. And I think,
Right. And but
let
we
me say
when we
one
talk,
thing about
yeah,
this
yeah, 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 yeah. Go ahead.
because I know there's been times in my past and in past relationships where, with a partner for whatever reason was like, hey, we're not able to have sex today, for whatever the reason is. And I know in times when I felt like, yeah, but I need that I want to feel close and I want to feel connected, that I would withhold giving any physical affection, not want to give hugs, not want to be snuggly, because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that's going to make me want this physical connection
I
more,
see. Yeah.
versus, where I try to be now is, hey, there's so many other ways we can connect physically outside of just sex itself. And so being open to embracing that and feeling close with my partner and recognizing that just the hugs and the regulated nervous systems and the mutual touch like that can check a lot of the same boxes for me that the actual sex act would, and being able to embrace that and appreciate just that for what it is helps, I think, then the feminine partner to feel more safe and to say, oh, we can have physical connection that doesn't always have to be with sex. And if I'm not feeling open to sex right now, I don't have to completely close myself off to my male partner, or as the male, I don't have to completely close myself off to my feminine partner. And I think those are, some of the baby steps towards rebuilding that polarity and rebuilding that trust.
Right. But like for the feminine, based on what you just said, that we need oxytocin. We're more
Mm,
oxytocin driven than men. So touch without the result of sex. Like we can touch, like I can go pick up my dog and receive oxytocin, right? Like I can hug my friend, my female friend, and receive oxytocin. But we're more oxytocin driven. And so if a male is sitting with a woman and he desires sex, but he realizes I can receive intimacy without sex, most likely if her oxytocin is going up, her likelihood of wanting sex is going to go up with it
yes.
because her bonding hormone is increasing. So, what I've found is a lot of times with partners, I had no desire for sex. In fact, it was like off the table, but based on their behavior of increasing oxytocin or hearing me, seeing me, their presence, all of a sudden I went from zero interest into interest,
Yes.
right?
That's,
Yeah. So if it
yeah.
doesn't have to ultimately end there, but those are the ways to, and frankly, the more I've studied this for the female nervous system to actually like finally have intimacy and then like there's so much great nervous system regulation that comes out of it on the other side. Like you know, that she can really let go and surrender and receive. And then all of a sudden, what felt like I have no interest, all of a sudden, her nervous system is so relaxed and
Yes.
she was able to let go. And so, even there's times where it's like feels off the table. But if I really like lean into my strong feminine and let the masculine guide me before I know it, I'm in a state of connection that I didn't see myself before because I allowed him to get me there.
Yeah.
Where
That
I
that
couldn't get there on my own because maybe I had a stressful day or, there's a lot of things going on in my head and I'm not embodied. And then, the male like kind of guides me into my own feminine ability to receive.
that is cultivating polarity. I mean, that's
Yeah,
exactly, yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, but I think for women, like two, it's a great conversation of when we're not feeling that way, what it is that we need so
Hmm.
that we can soften. Because a lot of times, like, we don't even want to think about going there. Like, there's just too much going on to even like be in that place.
Right.
Um,
And the pressure makes it worse. Feeling a pressure, feeling that expectation, is tough. And especially,
feel like there's like layers that for me as a woman, it's like, okay, like I don't mean that this has to happen to want sex, but it's almost like from the moment I walk in the door, how did you greet me? Like,
Mhm.
were you asking about my day? Or like it's like so many layers to get to that, whereas for men, they could go straight to that. Um,
Yes, yes. But I think, for me, the self-awareness, the lesson, the practice is again letting go of an attachment to outcome and instead focusing on the connection, the polarity itself, focusing on regulating my nervous system and getting to a place where I'm like, okay, my nervous system is going to be okay, whether to whatever extent we're intimate, whether it's, we go all the way and have this beautiful, lovely experience, or we just kind of hang out and we're fine, but not whining, not pouting, not withdrawing, not pulling, little passive aggressive jabs. None of
Yeah,
those
because
things.
that will definitely for the
It kills
feminine
it.
depolar, it kills it. I've had
Yeah.
that where the jabs, I mean, like that again happened in my marriage where I just get jab after jab after jab, and I'm like, I don't even want to be near you. Like
Yeah.
it feels awful on the other side. Like it feels so hurtful to be on
Yeah.
that jab, like feel those jabs, like those smart remarks or like it just, yeah, I've been there and it just made me cringe inside, when I
Mhm.
felt that.
And I think this is something too where, part of the practice for couples is be cultivating ways to have these conversations and to discuss this without it feeling again like a pressure situation, right? Like
Oh
I'm
yeah.
because I'm wanting to find that comfortable space where I'm able to own my desire and say to a partner, "Hey, I'm really missing physical connection with you," or "I'm really craving a physical sexual connection with you." And I hope that's, something that we're able to find a time and a place for, here in the next couple of days or something. But then also being willing for that not to happen and completely accepting that. And when my partner feels all of that, you're 100% right. She's that much more much more willing to open and be present and want that mutual shared experience.
Yeah, I don't know who, I don't know his name, practitioner. I'll have to look it up, but he says if a couple wants to be happy in relationship, like touch more often is like, and I'm not talking about intimacy, I'm just talking about holding hands or
Yes.
sitting side by side on the couch and like, maybe like having a hand on the other's lap. He said, laugh more often, touch more often, and play more often.
I love it.
And so if like the polarity is broken down, if you because you were talking about keeping score, I mean, you're not keeping score when you're joking and laughing, you
Right.
know, you're not keeping score when you're when you're just you're not keeping score about sex, but you're just like creating connection, even if it doesn't feel good in the moment. Like maybe I don't want to put my hand on your lap at this moment, but I'm going to do it anyway because I value this relationship,
Hmm.
you know, or play. Like maybe I had a really stressful day and I'm not feeling playful right now, but I'm going to go ahead and try because the way I feel right now doesn't feel good. It's like being very conscientious that maybe you don't feel like doing those things, but the relationship will starve without it.
Hmm. I think
I mean, there's
people,
been so many times like where I haven't felt again because I've had a busy day or I'm tired, I'm stressed, where those things don't come readily available to me. But I'm like, I've seen what the other side is. Like I said, I had a failed marriage and I don't ever want to go back that way again. So I would rather laugh more often and play more often and touch more often to never be in that place again, you know?
Yes, yeah. And I think, one of the things that we have to be careful about, again, is keeping score with all the positive stuff. Like, hey, I'm the one who always apologizes first, or I'm the one who has been initiating, the sex and
But you know,
creating.
and that's true, but I think it does happen. So there's like a part of like not keeping score, but also I want to say this the right way because I don't want it to come off the wrong way. But there is still sometimes where the reality situation is that's what's really happening. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think of a good example. Um, well, let's go back to touch for the feminine. I happen to know a female that was wanting more touch than the male. And it didn't feel good because she didn't feel that he desired her.
Mm,
Right. And it was like really damaging the relationship because she was like, I'm not feeling that you even desire me. I've actually known a few women like this. And it was the reverse of what you're saying, where the male's wanting it. And, but after a long time of not being desired, it does, whether you want it to be accounted for or not, it is just the reality of the situation, you
hmm.
know? Um, but in that situation, it helped her to say, could you initiate like once a week for this relationship? Like instead of keeping score, she went from, I don't want to keep score, that doesn't feel good to me, to just once a week, can you just initiate it?
That's
Because
a
he
simple
wasn't,
request.
yeah. So I think like when we're in these places, there is times when there really is an imbalance. I guess that's what I'm saying. Like you don't want to keep score, but
Mm,
there are times when there's an honest imbalance there.
yes.
And I think that's when we get really, that's where we have to get really vulnerable about what we need and see if that person's even able to fulfill that need.
Right, because in some situations, that's the reality is no, like the relationship isn't lined up, and we're
Mm.
not meeting each other's needs in a way that feels good.
I'll give you another example. I was just on the phone with my friend Molly. I was talking about, you can even test for this. I know that when they're on dating sites or whatever, where they will test you to see, like I think what day is it? Not Match, but there's one of the dating sites where they'll give you a percentage score of how compatible you are. Based on your personality type. So there's a masculine in the polarity world is being alone
Mm,
versus connection, right? Like the time that you need to be alone versus being in your person's space. Well, some people need a lot of spaciousness.
mm,
And some people crave or need to feel good in a relationship, a lot of closeness. Like
mm,
it's just the natural, like fundamental like relationship need, like, and in my marriage we were at a very disconnected, it wasn't going to change. I needed a lot of space, which is actually a masculine quality, and he needed a lot of closeness.
mm,
So it felt forced all the time to me, but I wasn't able to change that I needed a lot of space. Like I couldn't change that aspect of who I was as an introvert. Like just to be able to go into a room and like read a book and be alone is how I charged myself.
yes.
And he was an extrovert, so he needed a lot of like interactive attention.
Yeah,
And like that imbalance was there for 16 years, and I couldn't force myself to be what he needed me to be.
right.
And so I think there are times where that imbalance checkbook is just the state of like who you are as a person, and sometimes that stuff just can't be forced.
Right.
Like he had to come to a place where he had to accept that I couldn't fill his needs for him, like it just I required a lot of alone time.
Hmm.
So I think there's times where even like libido, some people have way higher libidos than others. Like There's people I ask them when I do an intake on a scale of 1 to 10 what's libido. I have people that have libidos at 10 and people with libidos at 0, like
Right.
some people just have more ravenous sex appeal than others. And like, so if you get with somebody who's like desires like really different from yours, you either match up or you don't. Like that might not be something that you can reconcile. Is what I'm trying to get at.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
100%. And I think that's the thing, right? Like it's so easy in the beginning of relationships, the polarity, the charge, the attraction is there. And then it's as we start to get into the rhythm, the kind of normal day in and day out life stuff, that's where we have, it has the potential to collapse and where those differences of desire and behaviors and stuff, come up and we start to see
Yes.
those more clearly. And I think that is what then can spark the scorekeeping, right? Because
Yeah, totally. And I think too, at the same time, the more mature I get in my self work, it's nobody's responsibility to fill any void that I have,
hmm
right? Like, there's not, nobody's responsible for, like, I think it takes a village, just like raising kids takes a village. I think it takes a village to be a functioning adult, to get your needs met from many, many avenues, not from one person.
right,
So,
right.
like in the terms of accounting, if you're having an expectation of another person to fulfill something for you, which I think was a hard lesson in my last relationship, is he wasn't able to fulfill something that was really important to me, and I really had to come to terms with that. But I was like, this is my responsibility. And when he would tell me that, I would be furious because I thought I needed to get it met in the relationship, and I realized like it does take a village,
Yeah.
and if I wasn't getting in the relationship, I needed to get it. And I'm not talking about cheating or outsourcing to another person, but I had to meet it within myself or through my friends or through my work or through my colleagues. It wasn't going to be met in that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something again, the awareness there is huge. And then recognizing for our partners, we can make a request, we can ask for something that we think we need. Um,
Mhm.
I
And it
like,
may be that you get a no on the
right.
other side. And then you have to decide in that no, is it okay? Like even I went to therapy and my therapist looked at me and he's like, is that a non-negotiable? And I found in that last relationship, I had 2 to 3 really strong non-negotiables that
Mm,
I required to be in relationship. And when I came to terms with the fact that those were my non-negotiables, I was okay to let the relationship go.
that's amazing.
Because I was like, this is really important to me. And if it's not important to him, we're a mismatch. We thought we were a match, but we actually are a true mismatch. Like,
Yes.
and I now, and the beauty of that, as you know, Peter, is I was able to learn so much about myself. It was like, wow, now that I know this, it's so empowering.
Because the non-negotiables, I mean, they've always been there to
I just
some
didn't really
extent.
have an opportunity to really know how important they were to me.
Right.
Like I had no idea that those non-negotiables were like transparency was a non-negotiable. Like transparency is a huge non-negotiable for me. Like I feel like I'm a very transparent person and I need transparency on the other side.
Mm,
Maybe somebody else transparency isn't like in their top, you know. Um, so like if you're talking about accounting, if I'm needing transparency and day in, day out, day in and day out, transparency isn't there, then yeah, I could try to account for that. Or I could just be like, this is what I need. Because that's where I think that what you were saying, is the accounting becomes really damaging when we're not honest about our needs
yes.
and our vulnerability to speak those needs out loud. And then two adults can look each other in the eye and say, can I meet your needs or can I not?
Right.
And then you can both be adults about it and say, okay, this does or doesn't work for me. Right? But if you look to your partner and you say, okay, these are my needs, and they're like, oh my God, that's so easy that I could definitely do that. I didn't even know that that was important to you. Because
Yes.
that's happened too. I've been in that position where men have come to me in relationship and been like, I really need this. And I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea. But that is so easy. I can do that. That is so easy, And it's solved.
That's such a, I mean, that's such a beautiful awareness. And hopefully that's, everybody who's interested in this topic, the polarity, or interested in their own personal growth, relationship stuff, are willing to do that work and investigate their own needs and wants and
Exactly.
desires.
Well, and that's why I love the workshops
Yeah,
because that level of investigation is sometimes not really obvious.
right.
I love the work that the reason I've gone into this is because like some things are just not obvious until it's like they're undercurrents and you don't even know that they're it's like that subconscious stuff that's happening that you don't even know that it's happening. And most likely you're thinking it's the other person because you don't want to own it in yourself.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, and I think there's a lot, I think it's a common practice for both men and women at times to, martyr themselves in their relationships and their exchanges for saying like, oh, I my I don't even need to think about my needs. They're second because I'm showing up for everybody else. I want to give to my kids or to my partner or to my work. And so I know for me, because that was this vision I had of myself, this nice guy who's awesome in relationships. And I didn't even fully own my needs. And so again, it's like that, and then that's where then, oh, I'm feeling desire. Well, now I'm mad at myself for it, and now I'm feeling guilty, and then it unfolds in the poor expression, the passive aggressive stuff. And so it's a matter of saying, hey, it's okay to have needs, to have wants, to
Oh,
have desires.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes a relationship really strong is when you get to that level of relationship where you can look each other in the eye and then meet each other in that field is where like it becomes really powerful.
Hmm.
Because the person's like, I see you and you mean enough to me that I want to show up for you in this way, even if it's not my nature, even if it's not something that I value, even if it's not something that even comes to mind. If
Hmm.
it's important to you, then it's important to me, you know?
That's the partnership. That's how yeah, that's how we take the relationship deeper. That's how we cultivate more of that polarity. And
Right. I do have one thing that is my barometer on the accounting
tell
that
me.
yeah, so for my barometer is the minute that I find myself withdrawing um or feeling resentment or like so for me, like I said, it shows up as resentment. The minute I don't feel that I get that ick feeling in myself, I know that I have an unmet need.
Mm,
So then I have to get really curious what that unmet need is. And then either I have to meet it within myself, meet it within my tribe, or right, have that vulnerability to go to my partner and be like, can you meet me here?
yes.
But I do try to resource it in myself first, or be like, is there a friend I can call? Or would one of my girlfriends like to go on a walk and like kind of explore this with me? Um, because usually if I try to figure it out myself, usually I don't even need the other person anymore
Right.
because I'm self like resourceful. Um, so a lot of times I don't even like I found more and more that I don't even ever have to bring it to my partner in the first place because I was able to either meet my own personal need or I went to my tribe and had it met. And sometimes I don't even have to go to my partner at all and ask for that need because it didn't have to come from them. It had to come either from myself or from my tribe.
Yes.
Um, but then there are times, right, too, where like let's say it's intimacy or it's something deeper that only that person can meet.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing of the relationships, that there are things that we really only truly can get with and through other relationship dynamics. But then there's so many things that we can deal with for ourselves. And that is the path, becoming aware of that and recognizing that and not feeling like you're outsourcing it. And because the problem is when you constantly are outsourcing your needs to someone else, well, now, they can not show up. They can hurt you. It can feel like this was an intentional thing. And, how could you? And that's again when we quickly now are on the other side fighting against each other. So recognizing that our how we can show up for ourselves, it's liberating in the relationship.
Yeah, but I think the barometer, like just before we end this, is if you find yourself like in the accounting role,
Hmm.
like right, like the barometer is like you can know right then and there that there's a depolarization happening
Yeah.
because like the barometer is you're starting to feel a really strong emotion that doesn't if like I call it the ick. It's like it just feels icky, you
It's
know?
yeah, it's
It's
the imbalance.
like that's the barometer right there to be like, okay, take charge of this, like yourself or again with your tribe or maybe with a therapist or like any way that's therapeutic for you. But if you turn that onto your partner, it's immediately depolarizing.
Right.
Right. And it has to come from that vulnerable, I need or I desire place because it's not their job. And that was such a hard pill for me to,
Are you
and,
still you
and
locked up for a second, but that was a hard pill to swallow, right? Like,
that was a hard pill to swallow to be like, it's not their job to make me okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um, However, I do want to be with a partner who really wants to earnestly try.
Yes.
In earnest, who cares enough about me to say, I care enough about you to try to meet your needs.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. This is a heavy kind of topic. I mean, it's a charged one because I think it plays
Yeah.
out so often in relationships, you
And
know.
I never want to be in a relationship where I'm accounting ever again. I mean,
Mm.
it's so hurtful on both sides.
Yeah.
It's just so damaging. And if I could say one thing, I want to be a teammate with my partner. I do not want to be in the different plane. I don't want to be on the different side of the field
Right.
as if I'm against them. I 100% want to be a teammate. Like we're on the same team. We're batting for the same, like we're batting on the same team here.
Yeah, we're in it together. And we're gonna, we're more likely to be curious and open with our
Mhm,
partner than judgmental towards them,
mhm.
and looking at those moments when, hey, maybe we're not lined up right now and the polarity has collapsed, but
Yeah.
again, being curious, being open-hearted, being present and saying, hey, it's not that I need you to do this or you need me to do that, but hey, we want to feel connected again. We want to cultivate mutuality. Let's do that in a way that's going to work for both of us. And that's how we get on the same team.
Yeah, and when I did my tantra training, when it gets to that level where like the polarities completely collapsed, where two people just are like, let's say they are at odds or they're not on the same team, that's when spaciousness is required
Yeah.
because the space recharges the polarity.
Yes.
So, like, let's say two people are like, well, you know what? I'm not meeting you eye to eye. I don't see what you're saying. I don't agree with you. Like, I just, like, that is not, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, we just really right now can't get to terms. Like, we're not able to get to the table and be on the same team.
Right.
Then that's where the relationship requires space because in Tantra, the polarity will start to slowly rise again. And then you'll magnetically want to be back in the presence of the person that you love. And then most likely you've had time to think about things, self reflect, come from a place of maybe forgiveness or compassion or whatever. But in that moment, you're so depolarized, you can't even get there. But spaciousness will create polarity.
Yeah, I love that. I'll share a real quick. My friend Scott Katamas, who's a love relationship coach, an NVC facilitator, just a great guy. And one of his practices that he shares, I don't know if you and I have ever talked about this, but it's the yellow light, red light
Mm-mm,
exchange. And it's kind of like, it's like in a relationship when we're
yeah.
struggling and we're feeling this coming up, we're getting those ick feelings,
Mm-hmm.
you can call for a yellow light, and a yellow light is effectively, hey, pause, let's connect. We're just going to stop all the other stuff right now. And what do we need to do to connect? And this again is assuming that we can show up in that way. And it might be like, hey, let's just hold each other and hug and do a couple deep breaths together and just slow things down and then kind of, get back into the conversation. The next level is the like, oh, I have to take the space. It's the red light. And the red light is effectively saying, hey, red light, I can't love you and show up the way I want to right now. So I'm going to step back. I need about 20 minutes. I'm going to go for a quick walk and then I'm going to come back and we can start again. And it's just that. And it's, again, this is a beautiful practice. I wish I utilized it, in the moments when it would be valuable. I don't all the time, but when you do and you remember to use tools like this, it can be a game changer because
Mhm.
it's that little space and it's allowing for it. And it's an acknowledgement, hey, we're trying to be on the same team here. And that this is something we need to do to help facilitate that.
I like that. Yeah,
Oh,
that's a great tool. It's a good visual, and the colors kind of also,
yeah.
it's got like color therapy in it a little bit. Like, okay, red is like stop and yellow is like pause, you know. I love
Yeah.
that. And green is go.
Yeah, right. We can keep going. And this is such a great topic. I think too, something that I was thinking might be fun to talk about too would be like in a future Polarity Lab would be like needs, universal needs, how these might look a little different for the masculine and the feminine energy. So I think that would be something cool. I think another thing that's really exciting, you and I were planning to do some more in-person Polarity Labs.
Yeah, let's make some announcements. You want to, Peter? Go ahead
Yeah,
and
for March and April. Um, are we good for March 5th? I think was going to be the first one at the Elixir, the Supertonic Elixir Bar. Did Dean,
yes. So yeah, he said he may not be there, but we can
we
do
can
it.
do that? Yeah, so for sure then we're looking to do one on Thursday, March 5th, and that's going to be at the Supertonics Polarity Lab. And then we're doing one in April on Sunday the 19th in the afternoon. That's going to be at the Rainbow Blossom in the Highlands. So that's another one. And then we're going to try to get at least a few more confirmed. There was one, I think maybe March 22nd is a tentative date, but
Yeah.
we're going to
And
keep.
what we could do is write in the comments below this all the dates and places so people can track where we're going.
Yes, and we'll continue to mention them in the virtual polarity labs that you and I will still be doing and putting that out there. And we're just excited to have these conversations in groups and get some people out at different locations. And it's going to be I'm excited about the spring and where everything's heading.
I am too. I'm so excited to get out and about. I feel like I go into deep hibernation mode in the winter and I'm
Right.
ready. I'm feeling the itch like, okay, the snow melted and I'm ready to get out.
I know. Well, and thank you to everybody who's watching these, whether it's live or when we repost them in the clips. Thanks for the comments. And if there's other topics, again, that you want to hear us discuss, put them in the comments. We'd love to do that and plan to come out to some of these in-person labs. They're going to be a lot of fun and hopefully, again, informative and just bringing other voices into the conversations will be valuable. So I'm looking forward to it.
So thanks for hosting, Peter.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, see ya. Bye.